for you lined up. Let's head on down. And we've got a very special guest coming in here as well. We're going to have Seth Manfield come in. Seth, what's up, buddy? Welcome to the booth.
Hey, Marshall. Wow, this is cool.
Yeah, nice to see you, man. We got numero uno in the booth with us, and you get to watch yourself play. Now, I assume when you go home from a tournament, you just immediately go to YouTube to rewatch all of your own matches and cheer yourself on. Is that true, or is that not?
I do rewatch some
he
of them.
does actually sometimes. Nice. We got him.
Nice.
I like watching matches that I won more, but but it's more productive to watch the ones I lost or if I messed up.
Do you ever learn stuff from it? Like, do you ever see it and go, oh, there was something I could have done better there? Or
I do, but more often than not during a game, even if I make a misplay, I realize it pretty quickly.
Yeah. All right, well, tell us what's happening here. It looks like you're lining up here at 5-2 against Jay. And we're in the fairly early stages. You've got a burglar, rat, not a lot else going on the board right now.
Yeah, I chose to draw because my deck is pretty slow, but I didn't know I was against Boros. Luckily,
playing with fire.
Yeah, Boros doesn't have anything on the battlefield on turn 5, though. Normally, you're in pretty good shape. Normally, they need to get a couple creatures to get those mentor synergies going. And the burglar rat, I was interested to see Jay discard a spell, a creature there, but
that's interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know what his hand was or if he was holding stuff he eventually just didn't play.
Do you figure he's just holding a bunch of removal at this point? He just doesn't want to point something at the stupid little rat?
Probably removal or pump spells.
Okay.
Or a 6-mana play like a
Light of the Legion or some bomb. Now, you're not doing much either, though that generally tends to benefit you here, right?
Oh, for sure. Like my deck has mostly a lot of removal, and so at this point, I was pretty happy to just sit back.
Does the rat go the distance? Just spoil it for us. Does it do all 20?
I have a certain rare that those lands on the battlefield can cast as it happens.
I know which one you're talking about, buddy.
Yeah.
I know the one you're talking about. In fact, we saw that in our live match this round as well.
Yeah, that card has shown up quite a bit today.
Right here, I was thinking he's done nothing, so I thought there was a good chance he had the Command the Storm, the 5-mana removal, so that's why I kind of was pausing, like, do I just jam it here?
And then you said, you know what, I'm just going to jam it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still a 2-for-1 even if he has it, right?
Yeah, and when he didn't have it, I was just like, okay, cool.
Boy, I mean, you got to figure if you get to untap, it's just game over.
Yeah.
Barging Sergeant, clearly off the top of the library here as well, so if you didn't have an answer before, things are looking pretty good for Seth here, I will say.
And my hand, I think, was actually a lot of lands for this one, but Nimizit will bail you out, and that was a nice little combo.
So you had your draw step for 1 damage, and then the Muse Drake for the extra damage to kill his 5-drop.
Yeah.
Must be nice. Oh, man, you are just living the dream here.
Yep. Oh, this was fun.
Leapfrog.
See, this was fun.
This
looks like fun.
Yeah, I have 5 basic swamps in my deck, so me being able to cast turn 6 Nimizit is pretty unlikely, as it turns out.
5 swamps. Oh, man. Lava Coil, kill your Leapfrog, and you're like, I'll draw a card.
Yeah, it's not just when you're casting the spells, it's your opponent too.
So ridiculous. What do you have as best card in the set right now? I know it's only week 1, but you've probably got your hands on the cards a fair bit. What do you think's the best?
After playing with Nimizit, I honestly think it might just be Nimizit. As weird as it is. I mean, I know the casting cost is kind of prohibitive, but if you're in Izzet and you have like some Izzet Guild Gates, like this is sealed, so I had to play some black. I just didn't have enough Izzet cards, but I feel like that card on power level might be the best. Like,
it is completely absurd.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good ones. Doom Whisperer is good. The 6-mana blue flash Surveil 4. That card is really strong. There's a few.
The best Mana War ever.
Yeah, exactly.
Or maybe the second best. But original Mana War still holding a crown. All right, so you won that one quite easily, and really you were pretty unopposed there, right? I mean, did you learn much about what Jay was up to?
I was thinking, was he missing a color? Like, is this a real Boros deck? But here, his draws were not good against me. His draw's terrible. He had to mulligan to 5 on this one.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say he hasn't done anything.
Yeah.
And you got your mana getting set up here. So you're gonna be
playing against.
Yeah. Technically, that one in front of my name is like a split one. Or
yeah, I mean, they haven't announced anything about it, but are you looking forward to it? Are you nervous about it? What's your?
I want to know more about it as well. Like everyone keeps asking me, "Hey, what's going to be the playoff?" And I'm like, I don't know yet. Like I wish I could tell you.
We're talking about the Player of the Year playoff that Seth's going to play against Luis Salvato at some point. And everybody will be watching when you do. Yeah. I hope I get to be there wherever it happens.
Yeah,
What a crazy situation to be in, huh?
There, I accidentally pulled the 5-mana Deadly Visit out of my hand. And I meant to cast Dead Weight.
Yeah, you mean the 1-mana Deadly Visit?
Yeah.
Wow, gosh. That Barging Sergeant has been awful for Jay. You killed it for free with Niv Mizzet, and now you used a 1-mana spell to kill it this time.
Yeah, I like my Boros decks to be as many cheap spells as possible. And like the 5 and 6-mana cards, I don't want very many of them. And because you need to get onto the board early.
Like you mentioned the Mentor stuff, right?
Yeah.
Light of the Legion, but Jay looks like he's not very confident about its resolution.
Yeah, he put it directly into his graveyard, or he went to.
I did have a counter spell here, by the way, but I also had a removal spell, so.
He said, sure, it'll resolve.
Yeah.
And then you command to storm it. And unfortunately for Jay, again, no board state, so the death trigger on that doesn't do anything either.
How worried are you about missing land drops right now?
You know, I have like 6 or 7 cards in my hand, so I was like, where are my lands? But I really wasn't worried because I have 5 lands, which means I can cast basically all my spells. So if Jay's only playing 1 spell a turn, there's basically it's always going to benefit me here.
How happy were you with this deck, Seth? We've seen some of the most powerful spells in the format that you've shown off, but also it's got some kind of weird stuff in there. You know, the electrostatic field and the leapfrog, you know, sometimes those are, you finished a game with them, but also sometimes they don't look so great when you're trying to do your value stuff. Where do you come down on your deck?
Yeah, my creatures are pretty mediocre. After looking at some of the other decks in the room, I think my deck is slightly below average just because it's not very fast and the mana base isn't great. Like I was saying, I have those swamps, and so I've had some fortunate draws in the feature match area, but I am 6-2 at the moment, so it's kind of about right there for me, like a 6-2 style deck.
Okay.
But it's got enough removal that if it gets to late game situations, it's going to be in good shape.
Yeah, it's like the removal and the late game stuff all on plan, and then there's like some stuff in the middle that you'll make do with basically. Yeah. Also, I mean, you are you, and we've seen you stitch together some Seth Manfield wins, even in the feature match area. That one when we had you in round 4 was incredible. You guys had a very long game 1, relatively quick game 2, and then you were just about to go to extra turns, and you just won the game out of nowhere. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, exactly. I was trying to like count all the little 1 damage things because I had the
electrostatic
pinger,
field.
Yeah, I had the field in play, and I was just basically going off on that last turn. I boarded into my deck here. I actually the color I have the most depth is black, but the deck that I boarded into for that particular game was just blue-red, and it kind of had some not so great cards in it. But I just wanted to. It's more aggressive, and
I see.
I wanted to just kind of, if my opponent was being more controlling, I just felt like it could be. I could kind of cheese out a win, which is what I did.
Which is exactly what you did.
Yeah.
I mean, you only had 7 minutes to win that third game, so you kind of had to come up with something weird.
Exactly.
If you wanted to close that game, there's no way you're winning a game in 7 minutes with this deck.
Yeah.
In Leapfrog, we trust.
No. If my opponent has answers to my Niv Mizzet, for example, like my creatures aren't that great, so it's hard for me to actually close out a game quickly. Like I think game 1 of that match took like over half the clock.
It did, yeah.
Looks like you've got a backup plan here as you went for Lava Coil, but it was foiled by Take Heart, but you had the Direct Current to finish off the Boros Challenger, so you keep the board clear. But as you mentioned, I mean, attack for 2, remove. It's going to take a little while.
Yeah. 1/3s and 1/4s will eventually.
Yeah, if you can keep the board clear.
Just tick, tick, tick. Whittling down Jay.
Yep.
So have you gotten to play against Luis Salvato a lot at this point, or?
We actually I played him in a Pro Tour top 8, so that's a pretty big stage to face off against a player. And that was when I had no idea who he was, to be honest with you. It was his first big tournament, as far as I'm aware. So, and he's a really nice guy, incredibly humble, and I did win that match. It was a pretty good matchup for me. So yeah, I've been impressed watching him play. And
have you played since then?
Have we played since then? I believe we played. We did not play at the World Championships. I believe we played at a limited Grand Prix, and we've played online. His name is Salvato, and so I run into him. He's a grinder, so he'll be there, and I play against him.
What do you make of him?
Is
he any good at Magic?
Yeah, he's good. he likes
to say, nah, I got this.
He's at his best playing control decks, the white-blue control deck. He was playing that in Modern. He's been playing that in Modern for a while, and I think he did well with it at the Team Pro Tour, playing the Modern seat. And then the Grand Prix that he tied me, he was also playing blue-white control, and I was like, oh, God, this is Modern? Why can't it be some other sort of a format?
Because you knew that was his forte.
Yeah. And he was going to a lot of events, which it goes to show, hey, this is something important that players do care about, the Player of the Year title, and it makes it feel more important if I actually do get there,
Do you care about it?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, it's one of if not the major part of my resume that I don't have that title, so yeah.
That is kind of it. What else do you need?
Well, I could be a Magic Online champion.
Oh, I forgot about that. All right. I like that. I think that's the only thing you haven't won.
Won GPs.
He's won GPs,
Pro Tour,
PTs,
World Champion,
WCs, and he's going for a Player of the Year. Wow. Well, great stuff, Seth Manfield. Thanks for taking the time to chat with us, and good luck the rest of the way in the tournament.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, that was great. We got a chance to hear from number 1.5. I don't know how you...
Yeah, tied for number 1.
He's tied for number 1 in the world with
he's
Luis
still number
Salvato.
1.
Yep.
Yeah. He's just not the number 1. He's
right.
a number 1.
That's right. And it's always fun to get his take on it, although that match, kind of a beating.
Yeah, it looked like it was a bit of a thrashing.
Yeah, it looked like the perfect sequencing there from Seth's perspective, because his slow deck with a lot of removal faced down a Boros deck with bad draws, and that's kind of exactly where you want to be. More Time Walk? Oh, we got more Time Walk lined up for you. Let's head on out of that right now. Time Walk game 2. Simon Chambier is playing against Peter Ingram. Let's get underway here in what looks like game number 2.
Pete Ingram's been winning a lot of matches of Magic recently.
Dude, that guy's a beast. Had a stint down at Wizards of the Coast. Saw him down there a few times. He was working on Magic specifically, and he is now freed back into the world, and boy, he could play before he went in, and he certainly can play now. Been seeing him at a lot of GPs, and he's doing very well.
Yeah, a lot of people go into wizard school and they come out and they kind of lost it a little bit. You know what I mean? They're on the other side of the curtain. Pete Ingram is not one of those people.
No, he's not.
No.
Now he's got a Boros deck, and he's going to be facing down a Whisper Agent. And we're going to see what Simon's going to do. The obvious block would be on the Urchin if there was no possibility of a spell being cast, but he may just need to trade off here for the Goblin.
Oh, wow. Very powerful card there hitting the bid for Simon.
Wow, he must not have access to green mana or something. Maybe missing land drops coming up or something, because you wouldn't put a card that powerful in the yard otherwise. In the meantime, it was Justice Strike to kill the Whisper Agent pre-blocks, add an extra damage on the Fire Urchin.
So Simon missing land drops.
Yeah, so that's what it was.
Peter, some interesting stuff here. Can attack with both if Simon decides to trade with the Goblin. Peter's probably fine with that. If he decides to simply block and bump with a Fire Urchin, Peter has the option of finishing it off with Direct Current.
Underrealm Lich is going to have to stay in the graveyard. Although, this is Dimir with green, so maybe there's a little undergrowth going on anyway, and having a creature in the yard's not the worst. Who knows? Trigger resolves. If he can find 2 more damage, he can kill it. This does not get him 2 more damage, but it could get him 4 more damage, or at least another off of the Fire Urchin. And it's still just going to trade off, but boy, that's a lot of damage coming in from Pete Ingram.
And I mean, Simon's got to take 4 there, right?
Yeah.
There's no way you can just say, okay, draw 3 cards.
Yeah, that's just too much. Especially given that if all this stuff goes the right way, Pete is down to 1 power on board here. I mean, Simon still has very real outs if he can draw a couple of lands in a row to stabilize this board. Now, though,
it's dangerous.
Okay, he's got Unexplained Disappearance, but it's just going to come right back. And Simon's down to 4. He did find land number 4. Let's see if he has an answer.
I like the gumption of Simon here, though.
I do, too.
I
do
like
too.
that he's taking 4 both times. I think way too often people are too quick to allow their opponents to draw cards. Though, Peter, it looks like he has Direct Current in hand, and Simon's at 4. So he can Direct Current Simon on the following turn, use the Jumpstart ability, and...
Yeah, those 2 copies of Risk Factor adding up to 8 damage means that cards like Direct Current are so much more powerful at finishing off the game.
Yeah.
You can really see the overall game plan of Pete. Remember, he kept firing off Risk Factor, even though it's an instant, on his turn, so that he could make sure that the Fire Urchin pecked in for those extra 2 damage. Imagine if he had just missed one of those right now. This would be a totally different game. Even 1 damage. Also, on that same tip, if Simon can gain a life here, it's a big changer. Otherwise, he's just facing lethal. Dimir Locket, sure.
I mean, hard to gain life at this type of speed.
Yeah, I think he's just dead. I think Pete's going over the set in his head and going, what could there possibly be here? He's only got access to blue and black mana, and he needs to gain life at instant speed. Killing the creature doesn't work. Counter spells at that price don't get the job done. I think you just do it.
Yeah, I think you have to.
It's just nothing. Simon says, I don't got anything. Game number 3 incoming, though. Pete Ingram trying to make it into day 2. This is winning in. Vernati Shieldmate here for Simon is at least something where early in the other game he just never really got anything going. Wow, look at this. Simon has sideboarded into a completely different deck. He's Boros now.
And this is really interesting. I mean, he knows that Peter's deck, his sealed pool dictated Burrows, and Simon thought to himself, I can out-Burrows you.
Yeah, and Pete's like, well, maybe you can. But Simon's going to be happy with this because he's got your favorite combo. He's got Wojak Bodyguard and Sky Knight Legionnaire ready to go.
Yeah.
6 damage incoming, and it's going to get there too because Pete Ingram just tapped out for Tajik.
And Tajik, an incredibly powerful card, but you don't worry about that Wojak Bodyguard. It doesn't have a friend. It can attack, but then here comes this hasty flyer, and suddenly you're getting attacked for 6 out of nowhere. And this is one of my favorite 2 double common combinations in this set. It comes up a lot more in draft than it does in sealed, but this is just awesome.
Boom, 6 damage just like that. 2 3/3s. Also, interestingly, Simon has tapped such that he can leave up Take Heart so that if there is a burn spell from Pete Ingram like Lava Coil, he can dodge that. Of course, all the pressure on the Legionnaire. Not only is it the better creature on board, just full stop, but also if it dies, effectively the Wojak Bodyguard is taken out of commission as well. So being able to protect it's pretty huge. Now, if Pete finds something like Luminous Bonds, now we're in business.
It's interesting to see how different types of removal spells stack up differently in different situations, because we've seen countless situations this weekend where Luminous Bonds just wasn't good enough because the opponent had a Guild Mage in play and was grinding at advantage that way. But then we see situations like this where a burn spell wouldn't be good enough because the opponent has a pump spell in their hand. And finding where each of those spells is at its best and timing them correctly just makes this a really, really interesting limited format.
All right, well, it sounds like the pairings have just gone up in the building here, so we're going to have to cut this one a little bit short. Apologies for that. It was Simon who ends up winning that one. So he took the race to Pete, and it looks like Simon just had 2 kind of sweet decks, like a low-to-the-ground Boros deck with some nice stuff, and then he had his sort of 4-color deck.
Yeah, and maybe he had
colors.
noticed that Pete had slowed down and was playing a deck that couldn't really deal with that type of aggression.
Yeah.
And he knew he would be on the play for Game 3, so he decided to take advantage of it.
That's right.
Smart thing to do.
It's smart. All right, we got one more round to bring you here from Montreal. We're going to take a short commercial break, and then we'll be back live again. See you in a few minutes.